Did you know one of the greatest ballet legends defied Russia, revolutionized dance, and became a queer icon? Hi everyone, I'm Chris with a K, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're celebrating one of ballet's most groundbreaking figures, Rudolf Nureyev. He wasn't just a dancer, he was a force of nature. Born in Soviet Russia, he defied an entire government to live his truth and revolutionize ballet for generations. But his story isn't just about dance. It's about rebellion, identity, and queer visibility in an era that tried to erase people like him. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share how dance shaped my own queer journey. So, let's get into it.
This week in queer history, stories told with love and glee.
On March 17, 1938, Rudolf Nureyev was born on a train in Soviet Russia, and that train and Nureyev were barreling toward a future no one could have expected. Not his family, not the country, and certainly not the men in charge who believed that they could control him. His father wanted him to be strong, obedient, a man in the Soviet mold, and dance didn't fit into that plan. But Nureyev? He didn't care. He'd already fallen in love with the movement, with the music, and with that electric feeling of his body defying gravity. He trained relentlessly, climbing the ranks of the Kirov Ballet in Leningrad, and his talent was undeniable. His presence was magnetic. He danced like he was fighting for something, because he was. Every leap, every turn, every perfectly extended line was an act of rebellion. The Soviet government had a tight grip on its artists, molding them into instruments of state pride. But Nureyev wasn't interested in being anyone's pawn. Then came Paris in 1961. The Kirov Ballet was touring, and they were dazzling the West with Soviet perfection. But during the tour, something had shifted. 23-year-old Nureyev had tasted freedom. He had met people who lived without constant surveillance, without restrictions, without fear. And the KGB saw this change in Nureyev, and they had been monitoring him closely and thought that he might try to defect. So just days before the company was scheduled to leave France, they informed him that instead of traveling back with the group, he would be sent directly back to Moscow for special training. Nureyev knew this was probably the end of his international career, and possibly the beginning of more surveillance, more restrictions, and even punishment. So, as he was leaving at Le Bourget airport in France, surrounded by KGB agents, he made a choice. With bold courage, he ran straight into the arms of French authorities, requesting asylum, severing his past in a single action. It was, in a way, his greatest performance. A defection choreographed in real time, fueled by instinct and an unwavering desire to be free. But his defection wasn't just about art, and it wasn't just about fame. It was about living. For the first time, he could love openly, exist without secrecy. In the Soviet Union, queerness was something to be punished, to be hidden. And in the West, he could dance without looking over his shoulder, live without fear. And dance he did. He partnered with the legendary Margot Fonteyn, electrifying audiences and redefining what it meant to be a male ballet dancer. His movements were powerful and raw and utterly masculine, yet laced with sensuality. He wasn't just dancing, he was rewriting the rules of what men were allowed to be on stage. Nureyev lived fast, burned bright, and never, not for a single second, let the world define him. His story isn't just about ballet, it's about freedom. It's about what happens when you refuse to be caged. And for every queer person who has ever stood at the edge of a really hard decision, wondering if they should take that leap, Nureyev showed us how. You just do it. There's nothing like experiencing live dance. The raw emotion, the electrifying energy, and the power of storytelling that words alone can't capture. For the queer community, dance has always been a space for freedom, self-expression, and rebellion. From ballroom culture to contemporary masterpieces that challenge norms, every time you see live performance, you're supporting queer dancers, choreographers, storytellers who are shaping the future of movement. And I've got a link in the description below. If you're in Los Angeles Ballet, check them out and go see some live dance theater. Before Nureyev, male ballet dancers were often secondary to their female counterparts. He changed that by bringing strength, athleticism, and raw emotion to his performances, making the male dancer just as commanding as the ballerina. And unlike many closeted celebrities of the time, Nureyev was unapologetic about his sexuality. While he faced some backlash, he lived boldly, refusing to conform to any expectations. He also didn't just perform ballet, he reinvented it. From his work at the Royal Ballet to his collaborations with modern dance choreographers, he pushed ballet into the future. Sadly, Nureyev was diagnosed with AIDS in the late 1980s and passed away in 1993. But before his death, he used his influence to raise awareness about the epidemic and help to break stigma around HIV and AIDS. Today, male ballet dancers worldwide owe their prominence to Nureyev. He shattered gender norms, redefined queerness in the arts, and left behind a legacy that continues to inspire. So how did Nureyev know it was time to go, to defect? How does anyone ever know that? Somewhere deep down, I always knew I had to leave Utah. And it wasn't dramatic. I didn't wake up one day, pack a suitcase, and storm out like a character from a soap opera. But there was always this quiet knowing, a whisper in my gut that was telling me that life could be better somewhere else. Every summer of college, I worked at the Utah Shakespearean Festival. And at the festival, we had all of these seasoned actors with rich, booming voices and endless stories. And they would all come to Cedar City, Utah, this small town, and perform Shakespeare. And they weren't just amazing performers. They had traveled the world performing. Backstage on those cool summer nights, they would just tell these tales of New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and these places where life was bigger, it was freer, and no one looked twice at a boy who might be a little different. Their stories weren't just conversations, they were invitations. By the time college ended, so had my first real relationship. Oh, Andrew, what a beautiful first we were. But the signs were very clear. It was time to go. And then, as if fate were listening, I saw that there was an audition for Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. And I went and auditioned as if my life depended on it. And 2 weeks later, I was cast as a lead singer, handed a contract, and given my escape route. And so there was no looking back. I stuffed my life into a suitcase, hugged my family and friends goodbye, and set sail. I sometimes wonder what my life would have been like if I stayed in Utah. What dreams would have died in that dry Mormon air. But when I think about that, I also think about Rudolf Nureyev. He knew he had to leave too. And in 1961, he stood in a Paris airport, Soviet officials at his back, and freedom was right in front of him. He had seconds to decide, stay and be swallowed by a life that would always control him, or defect and step into the unknown. He chose to leap into a new world where he could both dance and be free. And look, leaving isn't easy. It wasn't for Nureyev, and it wasn't for me. I left my family, my friends, and the only world I'd ever known. But each new place that I moved, New York, Honolulu, Los Angeles, I felt a little more like myself. And maybe leaving wasn't all about escaping repression, but I mean, let's be real, there's plenty of repression in Utah, but maybe it's about stepping into places that allowed me to redefine myself. In every new city that I landed, I didn't have to fight to be as someone else wanted me to be. I just was, and that freedom, that's been everything. So if you're in a place that doesn't see you or that makes you feel small, listen to that whisper in your gut and go. Find the winds and waves that will carry you somewhere that feels like home. I promise there's a whole world out there waiting to embrace you. So what does Rudolf Nureyev's story mean to you? Please drop a comment below. If you want more queer history, click this video right over here, and you may want to subscribe and put the little notification bell on so that you know whenever I post a new video. And I have that newsletter. Link is down in the description below. Until next time, stay strong, stay bold, and keep making history.